name is Sarah Postway, and I have been researching Third Place's Stronger Lives, Social Connections as a Path to Better Teen and Young Adult Health. Here is a statistic from the Office of the Surgeon General of the United States. It shows that a review of 63 studies concluded that loneliness and social isolation among children and adolescents increased the risk of depression and anxiety, and that this risk remained high even up to 9 years later. So such evaluation raises the question, should local governments provide safe opportunities for teenagers and young adults to build social connections rather than rely on electronic interaction to improve their mental and physical health? So what is a third place? A third place is a place outside of school, home, and work. It is a place that teenagers and young adults will be able to go to relax, feel supported, and feel connected. Some examples include libraries and coffee shops and sport places. Here's Connection to stimuluses is that my primary stimulus source was the U.S. Surgeon General's advisory, and I gathered statistics of how mental and physical health have declined over the course of decades due to a lack of connection. And my secondary source was the Basis of Consumption Connection Community by Jennifer Fiera, and I got the idea of third places and how important third places are to build a community. So here's a statistic from the U.S. Surgeon General's advisory on how lacking social connection is as dangerous as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. So my solution is that local government should create safe places for these teenagers and young adults to be able to meet to strengthen their mental health, connect to the community around them, and strengthen their overall well-being. And in-person interaction is far greater than online interaction, which I will talk about later. So why should the government be doing this? My first reason is that the third places help young people build extremely connected social bonds, and the shared spaces create belonging to the teenagers and young adults, and belonging lowers stress and levels of anxiety and depression among the adolescents. So here's a quote by Stimulus Source 1, and it is, in these third places, it is possible for communities to develop. Some examples of third places are coffee shops, museums, libraries, bowling leagues, dog parks, and barber shops, and whether or not they have direct, indirect, or both kinds of interaction. So my second reason is that online interaction cannot fully replace face-to-face connections. In-person relationships support stronger emotional health, and real-life interaction helps teens feel understood and supported. Here is a statistic by the article examining the associations between online interactions and the momentary effect in depressed adolescents by author Summer Mockle. It states that when communicating with offline friends, participants reported feeling better 57.3% of the time versus only 27.5% of the time with online friends. So the third reason why this should be implanted is that social connection also improves the physical health of the teenagers and young adults. And teens are far more active when their peers also exercise with them, and the health improves when moments become social. So a quote by Rue Pai and Jamal Zaki is that researchers found that people who stayed healthiest and lived the longest tended to be those who had the strongest connections to others. So, and here's a quote by the Office of the Surgeon General of the United States, quoting that people are far more likely to be physically active if their peers and friends also exercise, as I stated earlier. So a statistic from the U.S. Surgeon General, they synthesized data from around 148 studies, and they concluded that social connections increase the odds by up to 50% of survival. So how can the local government help provide these third places? They can provide clubs such as sport clubs, library, book clubs, and other clubs such as academic clubs, and then they can also allocate a certain percentage of their funding that they get from the town to be able to put towards third places for teenagers and young adults to be able to meet. Some alternative solutions I have come across was individual physical activity and limiting screen time of the teenagers and young adults. These alternative solutions are being taken into account by the 5210 program in states such as Maine, Florida, and New Hampshire. The 5 stands for that they should eat 5 servings of either fruit or vegetables a day. The 2 is that you should limit screen time twice a day. The 1 is that you should at least exercise once daily, and the 0 is no sugary drinks. So here's a quote by the County Health Rankings and Roadmaps. The 5210 Childhood Obesity Prevention Program is an example of a multi-component intervention for reducing screen time, improving diet, and increasing physical activity. And furthermore, for some teens, simply paring down devices might actually cut them off from much needed support. So this point is illustrated in the teens and screens and why the shift from control to connection is key to mental health. And it proves that limiting teens and young adult screen time, it does not force them to go out and actually have a community around them. It also might provide more stress and anxiety among the teenagers for their electronics to be able to take it away from them. So my limitations are that some local governments may be reluctant to allocate funding for these third places where teenagers and young adults will be meeting. And then some third places only attract certain interests or personalities, such as sport venues only attract athletes. So a quote by Beth Worthen, author of the article Creating Spaces for Youth to Thrive, states that whether it's a library, club, sports venue, or coffee shop, these informal settings help young people build social connections, feel a sense of belonging, and access supportive resources, meaning that there are plenty of third places out there that teenagers and young adults will be able to meet. And it doesn't, their overall personalities, it does matter, but as long as they're building social connections among others, it will improve their mental and physical health. So my conclusion is that if the government fails to address the mental and physical health challenges facing teenagers and young adults, then their mental and physical health will continue to decline over the course of years. And this is why local government should invest in safe, accessible third places for teenagers and young adults to be able to meet. And these spaces not only combat loneliness, but can be life-changing, offering support, fostering lifelong relationships, and protecting young people from the lack of social skills, and also providing mental and physical health. These are my works cited. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, so let me ask some follow-up questions. As you studied and did your research, explain the level of certainty you have about the solution that you developed.
I think that if local governments take into account how bad the mental and physical health of teenagers and young adults have actually been getting over the course of years, then this could be an extremely well solution for their mental and physical health to improve, so that they can have a connection around them, and they also have people to rely on and keep accountable for them to be able to just increase and get better.
Okay. And then one more question. Excuse me. What evidence did you gather that you did not use in your presentation and conclusion or solution? And why did you choose not to use it?
I read a lot of articles early on about like people's personal opinions and their mental health and physical health issues. I chose to add not a lot of those because it was very opinionated and towards one way or the other way. And so teenagers and young adults, they have been facing a lot, and it would be good to draw in a couple of their opinions, but it wouldn't be smart to like just get opinions from certain people instead of look at it as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Sarah.